Welcome to the Stormsurf Video Surf Forecast for the week starting Sunday, June 22nd. Brought to you by Vunabaka.com, a new surf and ocean-based residential community in the island of Fiji. First, let's take a look at the significant wave heights for the North Pacific Ocean. What we're interested in here is not so much the actual sea heights, but the path that these systems follow. First up, low pressure, Gulf of Alaska. Another semi-tropical system southeast of Japan. Watch this as we put it in motion. The system off Japan moves first to the date line, then into the western Gulf of Alaska, and then fully into the Gulf of Alaska by Friday. Sea heights peak out at about 18 feet. But the interesting part is that this system makes it the entire way across unimpeded by high pressure. This is significant in that it suggests that perhaps a change in the jet stream is occurring and shifting the normal blocking high pressure that's in this area to the south, resulting in an open channel for low pressure to move the whole way across the Pacific Ocean. If this pattern continues and we see several more of these systems occur, like another one forecast to develop off Japan on Friday, that would suggest that perhaps El Nino is getting some purchase in the atmosphere. So we'll put this into motion, see how it rolls out for the rest of the week, and yet another low pressure system develops off Japan, pushes to almost the date line, and then we're out 180 hours. This one looks like it's taking a little bit further north track, suggesting perhaps that there is some high pressure in this area building. But still, for this point in time in the year, this is a good pattern. Next, we'll take a look at significant wave heights for the South Pacific Ocean. And we're actually going back a week. We're into Sunday, June 15th. The point being here, there was a small system, 38-foot seas south of New Zealand, Sunday a week ago. Created a little bit of swell that is radiating northeast. Most of the track was due east, but still that swell it's already made it past Tahiti, going to work its way into the U.S. West Coast, but more so South America. And yet another system developed on Wednesday. This one, 34-foot seas, maybe a little bit more, but taking a much more northerly directed track here in the swell window for Hawaii, also in the swell window for Southern California, and not shadowed by Tahiti. Same deal for Northern California as well, shadowed even less. So that provides some hope of swell working its way into the U.S. West Coast by next weekend. And now we look at the current charts. We see nothing really going on in the Southwest Pacific. A small system due south of Southern California, but if we put this back just a little bit, it just formed, and it's pretty much going to be out of the California swell window, even Southern California swell window, by the time it organizes on Monday, and very little energy is expected up into Southern California. This looks like it's going to be more a system for South America and into Central America. So before we dive into the details of significant wave heights for the coming week, we're going to take a look at upper level winds, jet stream level winds, 30,000 feet or higher. These winds help dictate the travel path of storms when they form, and also help to fuel their formation when troughs develop. That is a northward push in the jet stream. So we're looking for much more pronounced pushes than that, or even that there in the far South Pacific. Let's put this into motion. We're looking for anything right now, pretty much a zonal flow. The Antarctic ice is right at about 65 south, at its pretty much its northernmost extent for the winter down there. So any sort of a trough that develops needs to be north of 65 south. So we're looking here, basically there's a big ridge developing, wiping stuff out, any potential for development in the New Zealand area by Wednesday. But a little bit of a trough here trying to develop in the far East Pacific. Actually, look at that, pretty nice. 140 knot winds pushing almost due north. This trough would be, if it was supporting gale development, if it happens on Wednesday night, would pretty much favor more the Southern California window because it's right at 120 west. put this into motion. Then after that, a ridging pattern pretty much takes over the West Pacific and working its way into the East Pacific. Now here's something a little bit interesting developing 156 hours out. Bit of a trough here, but again, this is between New Zealand, so this would more favor the Fiji area. Huge ridge building here under New Zealand, and that's the end of it. And so that's just going to shut down this whole region. Any hope would be here, maybe favoring Southern California with luck and Chile. Let's go take a look at the surface level pressure charts. So let's check out the effects of upper level winds on the surface, see what they do. And right off the bat, we see high pressure over New Zealand. This would suggest a ridge in this area. And again, low pressure now in the far southeast Pacific, 45, almost 50 knot winds here, but pretty much aimed out of the Southern California swell window, certainly not for Northern California. And you know, very little energy it looks like would be radiating north. Anyway, let's put this in motion. That fades out. Again, not a whole lot happening. We're looking for 45 knot winds. We have two small patches here. This one aimed a little bit to the north, but not a big area, just nothing really impressive, and certainly not in the our forecast window. And then we just roll it out. We're into 180 hours and not a whole lot happens. So basically, you have one system that's supposed to flare up here in the southeast Pacific, and that's it. Let's go take a look at the wave charts now. So as we mentioned before, gale in the southeast Pacific, 34-foot seas. We'll just do this for Southern California right there. 180-degree line is right there, so it is definitely in the swell window. And we'll click it one time because that's about 36-foot seas. Yeah, I would say yes, definitely. Some swell possible for Southern California if this, in fact, does what it's supposed to. That's by this evening, so I'd say the odds are good of some little swell, nothing huge. And then it's out of the window and gone. And after that, we'll roll this out, see what happens. Little gale, another one down here by Wednesday night, Thursday. And this one moving north, better northward push. Well, let's take a look at the swell, 187 degree, 186. Put that into motion. It lifts sort of north up to about 180 degrees, and then it's out and it's gone. And targeting Chile in that area. And then look at this, downward falling, what appears to be low pressure. That's a sure sign of a ridge developing, and then we're pretty much out of it. You can just see here, looks like a big ridge developing. So not a whole lot other than one system forming today, another by Wednesday evening or so, mainly targeting Southern California. Any swell is a good thing. Let's go take a look at long-term projections. First up, the Southern Oscillation Index. Difference in pressure between Darwin, Australia, Tahiti. Negative numbers suggest the active phase of the MJO, or prolonged negative numbers suggest the formation of El Nino. We don't see any of that right now. Little bits and pieces of negative numbers showing up, certainly down from the spikes of earlier in the month, 13th, 15th, and that's right about the time frame. We've had some easterly anomalies that developed on the equator. Roughly these numbers equate to that. This suggests more of a neutral phase of the MJO. The long-term 30-day mean is still suggestive of a slightly inactive phase, and the 90-day average is almost dead neutral at 4 and just holding. We would want to see all these numbers coming down if El Nino was perhaps in play and if it was getting some serious imprint on the atmosphere. Right now, that does not appear to be happening per the SOI. Next, let's take a look at wind anomalies in the West Pacific on the equator. West wind anomalies, if they were to occur, help generate Kelvin waves, that is warm water moving to the East Pacific. East winds suppress the formation of Kelvin waves, actually promote the development of cool water off of Ecuador. What we want to see is more warm water in that region. That is the hallmark of El Nino. The good news here is there are slight west anomalies actually starting to occur in the far West Pacific. That is good because we went through about a 5-day period of actual east anomalies more in this area. That fortunately appears to have died out. We're back into a weak westerly regime. That's exactly what we want to see. And then moving to the East Pacific, we also have some weak west anomalies here. So we want to see that pattern continue, if not build. A week out, we take a look, same region, West Pacific, very, very slight westerly anomalies, perhaps getting a little bit more momentum. You don't want to really go more than about 5 degrees either side of the equator, but that's probably good enough. I mean, that'll help push a little bit of warm water, at least try to keep the channel open for now. But what we really need is a serious westerly wind burst. Looking again to the East Pacific a week out, June 30th. Westerly anomalies also developing here, so that's good news. We're looking also for some sign that the warm water that is already off of the Galapagos and Ecuador is starting to have some impact on the atmosphere above it, and what you would see typically would be the development of certainly slack trades, if not weak westerly anomalies. So there is some evidence to suggest that that is what is occurring now, but nothing overwhelming. We would really want to see some westerly wind bursts developing in the far West Pacific, and that's not happening at this time. Another way to view surface winds here is from the TAO array, West Pacific. Here we are, the date lines here. Galapagos would be over here. These are anomalies. Notice westerly anomalies now in place. They've been there for about 2 days now. This is a good sign. We want to see these arrows get a lot longer and hold here for a lot longer duration of time. But certainly we had about a 5-day run of easterly anomalies in this area. That's gone. And it looks, based on looking at the models, that there's no sign of that coming back anytime soon. So we're back to a westerly anomaly regime. And just to sort of put the final nail in the coffin here, we built a new model, surface level winds in the what we call the Kelvin wave generation area. The date line is here. We're going 3 degrees either side of the equator. We're going back to 153 east. Okay, you see some of the islands here, and we'll just roll this out. And you can notice already, so this would be trades here. In these blues, you're talking, let's say, 4-knot winds or less, and very variable either side here of the equator. A little bit of east there, but, you know, it's kind of this real mixed bag, and we'll just roll this out real quick, and you can watch it. You can also check this out in the site. It's in the weather model section. There's actually, notice this, westerly winds in the 6-7 knot range 72 hours out. The question is, how long will they hold? Probably not super long. It's kind of a variable pattern, but, you know, little bits here and there, and a little bit of east wind there too, but not, you know, just a generally pretty light wind pattern. Now we're 138 hours back out, and this kind of just keeps going on, just almost dead neutral winds here. There's a high resolution 2-week model that we looked at, and it's actually saying the same thing, just kind of dead neutral winds in this area for the next 2 weeks. So that's good news. That's a step in the right direction. Not a westerly wind burst. You know, I'd love to see 8-10 knot winds from the west in this region. We're not seeing that. We're not seeing any tropical development, but still, this is better than east anomalies or east winds and trades. Looking a little further out, 2-week model. The statistic models, the blues are the active phase of the MJO, suggesting, and this is a weaker forecast than what was forecast yesterday or even for a week before that. There's been suggestions of a building active phase of the MJO. That's now faded from the statistic model, and it's basically just one step above a neutral pattern, which is kind of what the other models are suggesting. And then you look at the GEFS, which is basically just an ensemble version of the GFS model. It's suggesting actually the inactive phase of the MJO building 2 weeks out. Kind of interesting because other models we're looking at aren't showing this. So it's kind of a mixed bag. Best guess is probably just dead neutral for 2 weeks, which is okay. So here's the model that's giving us a little bit of fits here. This is the 40-day run. I don't know if I'd believe any model that goes out 40 days. The greens are the active phase of the MJO. The reds and oranges are the inactive phase, what we would consider to be high pressure and easterly anomalies down at the surface. This is actually a jet stream level chart, but it suggests the active phase working its way into Central America through the 7th of July. So that's about 2 weeks out. And then the inactive phase starts building. And based on the strength of this inactive phase, one would maybe guess easterly anomalies at the surface. Hard to say, though. And this is pretty much through the whole month of July. That would pretty much step on any developing El Nino if it in fact were to occur and shut off any flow of warm water to the east. The other interesting part is this is a stronger signal than anything we've seen on the model in quite a while, which would actually suggest, again, that the MJO is getting stronger. And if the MJO is getting stronger, that's, El Nino typically dampens the MJO and puts you into either a dead neutral MJO or an active MJO for an extended period of time. Again, I don't know how much one can actually believe this model, but it's something to take note of and something to worry about for about 2 weeks out. Regardless of all the wind situation, the current state of ocean temperatures, these are anomalies from normal, clearly depict an El Nino pattern setting up. Warmer than normal water temperatures here, the Galapagos into Ecuador down to Peru. Pretty decent warming going on. We'll get into some of the details. But this is the classic signature and advecting off towards the date line. All, half a degree, or certainly more than a degree above normal in this area. Again, this consistent kind of cool finger here, but that doesn't seem to have any impact whatsoever on what's going on here. We were watching sort of a cool finger developing here. It's still there. Actually, there's been some suggestions that when El Nino develops, you actually get a cool finger that develops off of equatorial West Africa. On the bigger El Ninos, we've seen that occur, so that's an interesting point to consider. A little bit of that maybe trying to show up here, but on the surface, this clearly looks like an El Nino-like pattern. The issue that we're concerned about is the continued eastward propagation of warmer than normal waters, taking these waters here, getting a Kelvin wave going, and transporting that water at depth into this warm pool and keep it going. If the westerly anomalies were to get cut off, if the formation of Kelvin waves were to get cut off, at some point all the warm water at depth here would boil to the surface, the trades would pick it up, blow it here, and then next thing you know, we'd be back to normal water temperatures about 3 months off. And that's about how long it takes for warm waters to make it from here to here and then start gurgling to the surface. So as of right now, it really doesn't appear that there's any additional warm water being transported from this region. So that would suggest that by the middle of September, all the warm water that's built up here would start fading and actually dissipating. We don't hope that that happens, but it is a possibility, and that's why we're focusing so heavily on wind anomalies in this region. We want to see more transport eastward of warm water. Here's another view. It's hard to tell what the scale is here. We'll put that right there, but we can click on it here. This is a nice thing. You get a good zoomed in view. This clearly is 4-degree pockets here, here, and here above normal. Actually, this pocket is shrinking some in size. This one's staying about the same. That's a new one. It's actually another one showed up here, and all this is in 2.25 to probably in the 3-degree range. That is a pretty expansive area. That is a really good sign. We want to see this continuing. This is all the result of the Kelvin waves that were generated January, February, March, almost into April. It's been, let's see, so 3 months from April is in July. So again, plenty of warm water gurgling to the surface, and it should continue to be gurgling up, and we'll take a look at depth next. So here's even more interesting news. This is almost 6-degree above normal pocket here. There's the sensors. Oh, this is, I'm sorry, these are anomalies. West Pacific here, East Pacific here, date line in this region here. These are anomalies from normal. Here's the actual water temperatures. But notice this still pocket of solid warm water, 6 degrees above normal. That's all moving towards the Galapagos, gurgling up there off of Ecuador, and will continue to fuel warm water for probably another month at least here. But what we're interested in is we want to see warm waters from here. Here's just west of the date line, working their way this way. There's no sensors in this region, so it's kind of a guess what's really going on. And here, there's some suggestions of slightly warmer water, but nothing, nothing really outstanding. So the flow is still open, the spigot's still there, but we need something to push another Kelvin wave. We need another Kelvin wave is the end of it, and right now we're not seeing that at all. So that's kind of where we're at. And one final piece of evidence, these are sea heights above normal, adjacent to satellite. What we saw before the Kelvin wave started hitting here was sea heights above normal in the 5 centimeter range, 0 to 5 centimeters, the whole way past the date line. That's all vaporized now. This suggests no warm water at depth in this region, even up to here, so almost to 120 west, and this is the start of the Nino 3.4 region from here to out to about here. And what this suggests is no more warm waters in the pipe. Whatever we got is there, it'll gurgle up, and that's pretty much the end of it unless we get another Kelvin wave. And another view at depth, the same sort of thing. Notice this, here's your warm water. This is 0.5 degree to 1 degree above normal, and it's almost, this is modeled here, there's no hard sensors, so you don't really know, but even the model is suggesting that we're down to just a couple of drips coming out of the faucet, and that's it. We still have a good patch here, but other than this data here, once it moves east, gurgles up to the surface, and then starts flowing to the west on the surface driven by trades, that's it. There's nothing else in the pipeline unless we get another event over here. So that's the concern. That's what we're looking to. The question is, will the surface waters that exist be enough to jumpstart the atmosphere? That is, will these warm waters here, will they hold? They got to hold for 3 months. And they really didn't start getting organized till in the middle of May, let's say, early May to the middle of May. Will there be enough warming here? Will it last for 3 months? That's what it really takes to start affecting change in the atmosphere. If that happens, then in and of itself, it could self-generate westerly anomalies here and the whole way across the equator, and then restart the warm water pump. So it's kind of a hit or miss right now. At least that's what it appears, unless there's some other processes that we're not aware of that would continue to force warm water to the east. So it's kind of a hit or miss game right now. It's kind of a nail biter. We're trying to keep our eyes on it. The hope is that we do get some sort of El Nino. It doesn't have to be a strong one, just a moderate one would do it, and that would set us up for a good solid run of surf for the U.S. West Coast in this the fall and winter months. So for the immediate future, we have two small southern hemiswells working their way towards the U.S. West Coast and Hawaii. Small is the operative word. And then potentially more very south-directed swell moving towards Southern California. Actually, there's another one in the water it's supposed to be hitting starting right about now from a very small gale about a week ago. We didn't talk about that because there were so many other things to cover. But small swell for now, wind swell for Northern California for the immediate future. The big focus remains El Nino. Will it organize? Will we get enough, another westerly wind burst, et cetera, et cetera. So who knows? Too early to tell, but we'll keep watching and we'll get back with you. And again, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Vunabaca.com. Check them out on the web, Vunabaca.com, a great new residential community, surf-based community in the island of Fiji. Thanks again. We'll do this next week, same time, same channel. Go get some surf.